or a poach. Welcome the lion, the royal lion. Sing, Munila la lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education, Munila la lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. He's the voice of the poor. He stands for many times of war. Or a poacher you voting for. Munila la lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munila la lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Them try bringing down your character, but as a lion you know you's a fighter. Them things only make you stronger. Or a pooch when they dip in your finger. One thing I want you to remember, he's a doctor, also a lawyer, who was there in the times of trouble, who was there in the times of need, who was there in the times of trouble, who was there in the times of need. Munila lion, he's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education, Munila la lion, he's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. He's a man always at war, always defending the poor. The youths them want him forever. He's a big cricket lover, invest a lot of money in culture. Munila, we know you's a warrior. approach. Welcome the lion, the roaring lion. Sing, Munila la lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education, Munila la lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. A man with compassion and courage. The people them fear him, the people them love him. He have the skills that the man have the knowledge. Look how much people he help in a village. So much kids he send out to college. And I tell you he's the voice of the poor. He stand firm in the times of war. Or a poacher you voting for. Munila la lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munila la lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Them try bringing down your character, but as a lion you know you is a fighter. Them things only make you stronger. Or a pooch when they dip in your finger. One thing I want you to remember, he's a doctor, also a lawyer. Who was there in the times of trouble? Who was there in the times of need? Who was there in the times of trouble? Who was there in the times of need? Munila la lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munila la lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. He's a man always at war, always defending the poor. The youths them want him forever. He's a big cricket lover. Invest a lot of money in culture. Munila we know you's a warrior. Come out and hear the lion roar. Or put you voting for. Munila la lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munila la lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Roaring lion, Munila, my friend. Lion roar.
Now is the time. UNC, we vote UNC, we vote UNC, we vote UNC, we vote no. The time is no. The time is no. The time is no. Now is the time.
If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stain your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Now is the time to build the nation, to seek for the children education. It's time for all leader who have a plan. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to reduce the tax. Now is the time for all crime to stop. This is the time we're not giving up.
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stain your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Gentlemen, sing it louder. Let them hear. Let the people hear.
If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stay in your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Now is the time to cast your vote. Now is the time to start to work. Now is the time we bring your hope. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to take a stand. Cause the UNC have the plan. Put up your hand if you understand. Stand, stand, stand. Louder! Let them hear. Let the people hear. Now is the time.
UNC, we voted UNC, we voted UNC, we voted UNC, we voted
No, 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 no. The time is no, 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 no. The time is no, 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 no. The time is no, no, no. Now is the time.
Vote for Kamala as your leader. Put back this woman in power. Don't study PNM, this just a failure. Yo, this is Hurricane and Dr. RG is Gambaj. Vote for Kamala and the UNC. Vote for Kamala and the UNC. Vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala as your leader. Don't study PNM, there's just a failure. I say, vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala as your leader. Don't study PNM, there's just a failure. Vote for Kamala and the UNC. Vote for Kamala and the UNC. She is a mother of this nation. She give every child a proper education. She is a mother of this nation. She give every child a proper education. She give every child a proper education. I say vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala as your leader. Don't study PNM, this just a failure. Vote for Kamala and the UNC. Vote for Kamala and the UNC. She raised old age pension for the elderly. She's supporting them medically. She raised old age pension for the elderly. She's supporting them medically. She's supporting them medically. I say vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala as your leader. Don't study PNM, this just a failure. Vote for Kamala and the UNC. Vote for Kamala and the UNC. Rock with it, 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 rock with it. Vote for UNC, your country will be happy. Don't study PNM, they just a ratchet fee. Vote for UNC, your country will be happy. Don't study PNM, there's just a ratchet fee. Vote for UNC, your country will be happy. Don't study PNM, there's just a ratchet fee. Don't study PNM, there's just a ratchet fee. I say vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala as your leader. Don't study PNM, there's just a failure. Don't study PNM, there's just a failure. Don't study PNM, there's just failure. Don't study PNM, there's just a failure. I say vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala, vote for Kamala as your leader. Don't study PNM, there's just a
approach. Welcome the lion, the royal lion. Sing, Munilala lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education, Munilala lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. A man with compassion and courage. The people them fear him, the people them love him. He have the skills and the man have the knowledge. Look how much people he have in a village. So much kids he send out to college. And I tell you he's the voice of the poor. He stand firm in the times of war. Or a poach or you voting for. Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Them try bringing down your character, but as a lion you know you's a fighter. Them things only make you stronger. Or a pooch when they dip in your finger. One thing I want you to remember, he's a doctor, also a lawyer. Who was there in the times of trouble? Who was there in the times of need? Who was there in the times of trouble? Who was there in the times of need? Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. He's a man always at war, always defending the poor. The youths them want him forever. He's a big cricket lover. Invest a lot of money in culture. Munilala, we know you's a warrior. Come out and hear the lion roar. Or put you voting for. Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Royal lion, Munilala, my friend. Lion roar.
Now is the time to vote for UNC. Now is the time to build back the country. We walk Amla, we walk Amla, we walk Amla for Prime Minister. We walk Amla as the leader. We walk Amla for Prime Minister. We walk Amla for the future. Hey, yeah. Now is the time to vote for UNC. We want UNC to build back the country. We walk Amla for Prime Minister. We walk Amla as the leader. We
am the lion, the roaring lion. Sing, Munilala lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education, Munilala lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. A man with compassion and courage. The people them fear him, the people them love him. He have the skills and the man have the knowledge. Look how much people he have in a village. So much kids he send out to college. And I tell you he's the voice of the poor. He stand firm in the times of war. Or a poacher you voting for. Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Them try bringing down your character, but as a lion you know you's a fighter. Them things only make you stronger. Or a pooch when they dip in your finger. One thing I want you to remember, he's a doctor, also a lawyer. Who was there in the times of trouble? Who was there in the times of need? Who was there in the times of trouble? Who was there in the times of need? Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munilala lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. He's a man always at war, always defending the poor. The youths them want him forever. He's a big cricket lover. Invest a lot of money in culture. Munila, we know you's a warrior. Come out and hear the lion roar. Oh, put you voting for. Munila lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Munila lion, he's a champion. He's a lion, he's a champion. Roaring lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education. Royal lion, Monilal, my friend. Lion roar.
Now is the time.
UNC, we voted UNC, we voted UNC, we voted UNC, we voted
No, 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 no. The time is no, 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 no. The time is no, 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 no. The time is no, no, no. Now is the time.
Now is the time for action, 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 action.
No, no,
Action, action,
no, no, no.
action, action.
No, no.
Now is the time for action, action, action.
No, no,
Action,
no,
action,
no,
action.
no.
Action, action,
No,
action.
hey, 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 hey. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Now is the time to cast your vote. Now is the time to start your work. Now is the time we bring your hope. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to take a stand. Cause the UNC have the flag.
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stay in your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Now is the time to build the nation, to seek for the children education. It's time for a leader who have a plan. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to reduce the tax. Now is the time for all crime to stop. This is the time we're not giving up.
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stay in your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Gentlemen, sing it louder. Let them hear. Let the people hear.
So let's all join together as one. If you believe that the time has come, election day when you stay in your hand, it's for the UNC and the rising sun, 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 sun.
What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. What time it is? What time it is? What time it is? Now is the time for action. Now is the time to cast your vote. Now is the time to start to work. Now is the time we bring your hope. Now is the time for action. Now is the time to take a stand. Cause the UNC have the plan. Put up your hand if you understand. Stand, stand, stand. Louder. Let them hear. Let the people hear.
Testing, testing. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all stand for the national anthem of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Let's remain standing as I invite Pandit Vinod to lead us in a word of prayer.
As we bow our heads in prayer, we pray before you today, Lord, we come in one common cause, which is to fight that difficulties, that oppression that people are facing in our country. We pray for the victory of the United National Congress, our leader, the Honorable Ms. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and all our candidates. Hari Om Sri Ganeshaya Namo Namam Shri Saraswate Namam Sri Guruchana Kamalebhyo Namo Namam Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Om Sachetananda Parabrahma Purushottama Paramatama Shri Bhagavati Sameta Shri Bhagavati Nama Hari Om Tat Sat Hari Om Tat Sat Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may have your seats. On behalf of the candidate for the Orapuch East constituency, we would like to welcome each and every one of you here to yet another of our virtual meetings that we are having in the constituency as we prepare ourselves for general elections 2020. My name is Raymond Surjbali. I am the Public Relations Officer of the Orapuch East constituency, and it's my pleasure this evening to introduce to you the person who will be chairing the proceedings. Presently he's an attorney at law, former police officer, a resident of the community, as a matter of fact, of Ramai Trace, where we are presently attending this meeting. He's also a community activist, involved in a lot of charitable organizations, charitable work, and he would have held many offices in this land serving the people. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you the chairperson for this evening, Mr. Gobind Hariprasad.
Thank you, Mr. Surjbali. A pleasant good night, ladies and gentlemen. And on behalf of the candidate for Orapuch East, I again say welcome to each and every one of you. As it relates to our little housekeeping rules, let us ensure that we observe and comply with the present COVID regulations As far as I am seeing at this point in time, we are indeed in full compliance. Everyone is sitting as designated and otherwise. UNC people, welcome. Welcome to the Lions Den, UNC people. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a little mantra that I just do things with. And my mantra is fix your house first. And when I say fix your house first, I mean let us look at our approach east first before we go to national issues as it relates to these elections campaigns. Ladies and gentlemen, the first thing I want to raise tonight, I beg of each and every one of you here to do a little comparison. Not much, because you don't have much to really compare. But let us do a little comparison with our goodly candidate, the Lion himself, Dr. Rudal Munilal, a.k.a. the Lion, and that PNM candidate, some fella named Clifford, is Rambarros his name? Clifford Rambarros, ladies and gentlemen. You know, today, I took the time out to look at the biography of these two individuals. And what do I see? I see, to put it in local terms, chalk and cheese. At a later stage in these proceedings, ladies and gentlemen, I will obviously be required to establish the qualifications of our present MP and the guaranteed, the obvious MP come the 11th of August, Dr. Rudal Munilal. But ladies and gentlemen, having looked at the gentleman's biography, I'm a professional. I'm not here to gossip. But having looked at the individual's biography, what do I see? What do I see? Do I really see someone who you placing the lives of your children in, of your parents in, of yourselves in? I beg of you to look at what this gentleman has in fact said. What he in fact intends, what he wants to do for Oropochis, and I shall read it. My plans for the constituency include the following. The first thing he wants to do, priority on his list, is setting up a food processing plant. If I'm not mistaken, I think the PNM, their political leader, went somewhere, Moruga, and set up some plant recently. Whether or not it is going to be successful is yet to be seen. Focus on creating employment for the youth. Establishment of a tourism destination at Godino River. Setting up programs to support teenagers in school. Ensuring a safe and secure public transport system, especially for the residents of the main roadway. And the fella stopped there. And the fella stopped there. If you were to ask the average citizen of Oropochis, what are your major problems being faced at this time? What would we hear? Thank you, Pandit. It is so common in Oropochis that the residents are continuously faced and burdened. Every time the wet season comes, there we have great flooding problems, ladies and gentlemen. But this fella, in his plans, clearly, he does not have one iota of knowledge as to what this Oropochis really wants. And you know what's sad about it? Let me tell you what's sad about it. He had the audacity, that fella had the audacity to want to tell the media he's going to put a licking on the Lion. That fella had the audacity to go and tell the media he's going to put a licking on the Lion. Well, I asked his political leader tonight, if you all were so guaranteed that my MP going to get a licking, why you didn't send the short man down here as a candidate? If they were so sure of beating Dr. Munilal, they should have sent a little boy. They should have sent the short man, the Dwayne. You understand? Now, I will tell you something. I don't want to song in a particular way. But Mr. Rambali introduced me as a former police officer. And I clearly remember years back, when you started training, they used to tell you, there's a thin line, a very thin line between bravery and stupidity. I would leave it for you all to determine whether or not that fella is being brave or otherwise. To come in this turf, and rather than the fella say, well, you know, I know in the Lions then, but I would give it my best, he had the audacity to say, to tell the media he's going to put some licking. I see my senior colleague at the head table here, Mr. Pandey. You know, I'll tell you all this, I think in instances like this, the legislature should really consider amending the Domestic Violence Act to include political opponents. Because if they had included political opponents, let me tell you something, that fella would have had to go and apply for protection order against Dr. Munilal. The licking he would have gotten, the licking he's going to get, he would have really considered. And it goes without saying that people, protection orders is well known in the PNM right now. I say no more on that. If I go further, what do they call that side, east? Yes. If I go further, you will see what happened down there. Right? So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we say to you, Mr. Clifford Rambaros, you are absolutely no threat. You are a non-entity as far as we are concerned. And I say it very publicly and very openly, very fearlessly. You are no threat to Dr. Munilal. You come in the Lions Den and you want to play Hefe, partner, check your head. And moving on, ladies and gentlemen, you know, in considering what my approach would be in sharing this program tonight, recognizing that we have renowned speakers, renowned politicians, we have a very renowned senior attorney at law here, I took the decision that my approach is going to be as simple as practicable in chairing this program tonight. And the approach that I have in fact adopted is to look back at what PNM said in 2015. They were in fact going to do for this country. The proposal they put forward for the citizenry of this country in 2015, which for some strange reason led them into, I don't even want to use the term governance loosely because it cannot be governance alone. There has to be an adjective in front of governance. And in looking back, I took the time to look at the manifesto, certain things in the manifesto. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if I go to deal with everything, let me tell you something. We will be here till tomorrow night, and we have a motorcade in the morning. So let me just point out a couple things. From their manifesto. Their manifesto, ladies and gentlemen, reads, after 5 years, crime remains the most serious problem affecting our citizens today, closely followed by corruption, which has now reached previously unimagined levels. In fact, officially sanctioned corruption has become a feature of this discredited UNC-led regime. Far from serving the people, they have only served themselves and their financiers. And among the numerous issues they raised pertaining to crime, ladies and gentlemen, among the numerous issues, one of which was the murder rate. The murder rate, ladies and gentlemen, under the Kamala Persad-Bissessar-led administration between 2010 and 2015. One of the core issues they raised, ladies and gentlemen, is this. The country has no offshore patrol capabilities or border protection. How recent, Mr. Stuart Young, come and tell the public illegal immigrants coming in the country? After 5 years, did they treat with that? But before I go to the issue of the border patrol, because in their manifesto, what did they say? They're going to establish border agencies and this and that and invest in this and invest in that. But before I get to that, I just want to highlight to you all 2010, the murder rate in Trinidad and Tobago was 485. And continuing, in 2012, the murder rate was 383. It dropped under the Kamala Prasad BCSR administration. As fate would have it, in 2013, it went back up a little to 408. In 2014, it stayed at 403. And in 2015, I want you all to register this figure, please. In 2015, the murder rate was 410. In 2016, it increased to 463 under the PNM-led administration. In 2017, there was a further increase, ladies and gentlemen, to 494. In 2018, it is here, 516. In 2019, it was 538, ladies and gentlemen. So the PNM government, who was saying in 2015 that Kamala didn't have a handle on crime, and the murder rate was high, I wonder what they're saying about this. I wonder what they're saying about this. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not wish to take away from the official speaker's time. At this point in time, I would take time out to introduce to you one of these renowned gentlemen. Just bear with me, please. There's a lot I have here, believe me. Yes. I would take time out to introduce one of our speakers. He is, in fact, one of our very renowned politicians, well known. He has, in fact, served the constituencies of Princestown and Naparima by extension. He has also served as a junior minister in the Ministry of National Security, when in my then capacity as Director Legal Services at the TTPS, both him and I interacted a lot. I must say, Doc, it was indeed a pleasure back then. I learned a lot from you. He continues to act as a father and as a guide to junior attorneys within the law profession, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I now introduce to you no other person than the renowned Mr. Subhash Pandey.
Good night, my brothers and sisters. Harry, thanks very much for the introduction. They said tonight we're in the Land's Den, but I think we're more than that because we have the tiger from Tavakit with us here tonight. Suraj and Rudal Munilal have been two of the most powerful representatives and the best debaters we had in Parliament. Gentlemen, and tonight I feel proud to be both in the Land's Den and the tiger's cage. My brothers, my sisters, members of the national community, I wish to extend greetings to our Muslim brothers and sisters on this auspicious day on the event of Eid ul-Adha. We say greetings to our Muslim brothers throughout Trinidad and Tobago. It is indeed an auspicious day. Brothers, sisters, one auspicious day follows the other. And tomorrow, today as we celebrate Eid ul-Adha, tomorrow we celebrate Emancipation Day. And to all our African brothers and sisters, wherever you may be, we say, greetings on the Emancipation Day. It will indeed be a day of reflection for every single person of Trinidad and Tobago. My brothers and sisters, however, the PNM doesn't care about that. The PNM doesn't care about the people. They only think about how to win elections. And what did they say? They say, judge we on the performance in the last 5 years. What has been their performance in the last 5 years? Answer is nothing. Nothing to show for the last 5 years. All we can remember, my brothers and sisters, they haven't pushed the country 1 inch forward. Instead, they pull us backwards. Young people, they throw them on the breadline. This PNM has a history of destroying the working people. They did it with Carony Limited. 10,000 people went home, and up to now, people ain't get their deeds. They have done, as time went along, look what they did with Petrotrin. 5,000 people are sent home, and you know they're boasting what a good job they do. They forget to tell you, my brothers and sisters, how many people work for contractors, how many people did ancillary work. All of them gone home, but they care about them. You know what they say? Many of the people who went home in Petrotrin, who worked there for a long time, went with a golden handshake. But the young people, you know what Rowley say? You ain't got nothing. That is okay. You're young. Go and look for work. As a matter of fact, he boasted, he said, the first work he do was washing bottle in bottlers in Tobago. I say, shall stay in that work all now. Because the Prime Minister, he has been an abject failure. My brothers, my sisters, we asked, he says, go and look for work. All you're young, go and look for work. The question is, and I ask all my young brothers and sisters, we know you have studied. We know you have sacrificed. Where you get the work if the government closing down everything? Where you get the work when all the industries are going down because of PNM policy? PNM telling you, go and look for work, but there's no work to get. And this is where we say, the United National Congress under Kamala Prasad Bisesa has indicated we're going to bring 50,000 jobs. That is not only for UNC people, but those jobs are for everybody in Trinidad and Tobago. Because UNC, like the PNM, do not discriminate against anybody. So my brothers, I hear what they do. They have no ideas. They don't know what to do. But whenever you put forward an idea, whenever Kamala and the UNC put forward an idea, you know the next thing they want to, they want to mash it up. Then those armchair pollsters and those armchair fellas like Raghunath and them, where you get the money from to create 50,000 jobs? They say you go to UTT and the other money. They say don't touch that, don't touch that. You know what? They put in obstacles in the way of the UNC government, the next UNC government. My brothers and sisters, while they're dipping their hands in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund and thieving the money and using it for political campaign, UNC say, we're going into it. And I ask you here tonight to tell UNC, yes, take the money, invest it on behalf of the people so you can create jobs for our young people. My brothers and my sisters, the PNM has stagnated this economy. They have brutalized the economy. Not only, they said judge them only 5 years. Not only they have sent home thousands and thousands of people home, they have made the middle class a working class. That is, all the little businesses have to close down because of PNM policy. They have made the business class a working class, and they make the working class a pauper class. That is what PNM has done for the last 5 years. So when they ask you to come and vote for us, and they ask you what they do, like Harry says, tell the fella, this is what you do, boy. We can't support all you. Brothers, when they're Legoing people, the PNM so heartless, the PNM so callous, you know what they do? They run you out of work. They run you out of employment. And you know what they come and do? They raise gas prices. They raise gas prices 3 times. That's the only government that raised gas prices 3 times in the term. And you know, this short when will smoke. I raised gases 3 times and then even revolt. You know what he's telling you? All these fools. All the people in Trinidad and Tobago, we are fools. And they could do where we want. Brothers and sisters, 2020, we must show them we ain't no fool. We don't make a fool of them. Brothers and sisters, They raise the gas and they laugh at you. Now they're coming and telling you, Kamala and the UNC had removed VAT on food. Although she was creating employment, she tried to make your life so happy or so much better that she give you money in your hand. And at the same time, she reduced the price of food so at least you can have food on your belly, in your belly. What does government do? They take away your money. They throw you out of work. And then they raise the VAT on all the food, pauperizing you. And that is what they're coming here for. That is why, my brothers and sisters, when they're campaigning, it's only movelang and old talk, lies all the time. That is all they could give you. And they hope that by lying so much and pelting so much mud on the UNC that some go stick and you go feel shame of we, and you will say, me voting, you know. If you do that, I'm warning you here tonight. If you allow PNM to go back in power, I'm warning you, you're eating grass. You eat grass for the next 5 years. And so Venezuelans running to come here because they're catching hell in rowdy friend country, Maduro country. We go be in a worse position. When starvation hit we under the PNM, there's no way for we to run. Long ago, when we had pressure from the PNM, the whole of Rock Road went up in Canada and the States. This time they closed the borders. We have nowhere to run. We'll have to stay here and take the jamming. We have to stay here and take the grain. And I'm warning you, if you don't take action on the 10th of August, you're in deep trouble. There'll be nowhere to hide. You can't go to America. Trump take away the visa. You can't go to England. You can't go to Canada. Where you going? Venezuela? Well, them running come in here. So my brothers and sisters, this, when we say that this election is the mother of election, we mean that this election means life and death. It's not only the mother of all elections, but this election is an election for life and death. Life and death for your children. Look here what they do. This wicked PNM government. You know what they do? On the book list, they put, you got to get a laptop. But we are no work, we go buy laptop. Kamala say, instead of putting the list, the laptop on the book list, put the laptop in the children's book bag. This is the choice you have. This is the choice between UNC and the PNM. This is the direction which the PNM want to carry you into the ground, and the UNC trying to lift you. And when I speak to you, I don't only speak about supporters of the UNC, because when laptops are being given, you would have seen on the last occasion, when laptops were given, they were given to every child in every school, denominational school and government school. That is the legacy of the UNC. The PNM has no legacy except giving you pressure. The PNM have no legacy except lying all the time. But the UNC, in that 5 years, have left you with a legacy that your children will be better educated. So the choice is yours, and we want you to take that challenge. My brothers, my sisters, not only they give you no computer, you know, not that you can't even get the money to buy it, you know, not that they're going to send home one of the people, you know. And let me tell you something that all you know tonight. The PNM have already made a list of people who they're going to send home. 535 in UTT. They have their name already on a list to send home. And they say, wait till the election. Those people of UTT, those PNM friends of you, those people in UTT who think PNM is a friend, your name on a list for them to cut your throat. In WASA, in the regional corporations, they say they're going to modernize the regional corporations. They're going to reform it. You know what I mean? Half all you're going home. So here what they're doing now. So we go home, we have no money. So the rest of people who remain in, my brothers and sisters, you know how they go run the country then? They go say, tax in your back. So they intend to bring the revenue authority. And they come in to check your house. If you have a shed attached to the house, you have to pay tax on that. If you have a kennel with a dog and the dog managing the dead, you have to pay tax on that. This is where they come in. And I want to tell you something. They already have in plan who they're going to put there. Somebody who will be ruthless and they will take advantage of you. But we want to say here tonight to the PNM, no John or Johnny or Tommy or Henry, you are choosing your friends to brutalize me. We're going to stand up and fight. But if we're to fight, my dear brothers and sisters, is with this, not with a gun, with this finger. Take this finger on Monday, the 10th of August, make sure you save yourself. So what they intend to do is to raise the taxes so high that they will get money to live a happy life. That's all they're doing, you know. So PNM could live a happy life while you, the people, will be suffering. This is the choices we have for this election. And when we say so tonight, we do not mean only the UNC people who will be suffering. Everybody in Trinidad going to get the same shot. My brothers and sisters, if they get in government, is tax, 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 tax down the line. Prices will go up, up, up. Starvation will go up, 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 my brothers and sisters. So therefore, that is the issue we have at hand. My brothers and sisters, look what they're doing now. The money that the UNC set up, called the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, they're so greedy, they're chucking their two hands in it and they're taking it out. You know what their plan was? To finish everything. So when the UNC comes in power, they have nothing. And they will get difficulty, they experience difficulty in running the government. My brothers and sisters, they call people thief. But I am telling you tonight that they dip in the hand in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund to finance their campaign and their friends. And I want to tell you something. Oh, you're really lucky, boy. They ain't finishing money yet. You have a little bit remaining, and you have an opportunity on Monday, August the 10th, to save that rest of money for the future of your children. So, my dear brothers and sisters, they talk about how they're solving crime. The amount of money they spend on crime, as Harry told you, the crime rate is so high. But what pains me, my brothers and sisters, they passed draconian laws for our black little brothers in Laventille and Johnson and Mbakade and Current Hill. If you have a little thing, they're locking you up. But in this government, Rudy, your lion of Urupuchis, had produced some documents in the parliament where it showed a minister's children with Harry, with a submachine gun playing with it. Brothers and sisters, they call it a prohibited weapon. And Harry will tell you, a prohibited weapon is like a cannon, a submachine gun, a semi-automatic rifle that could kill 20, 30 people in a few minutes, a few seconds. A minister's son was playing with them gun in the Komoto. And you know, up to now, they're locking up all them little fellas, all about on the street. And up to now, that minister's children ain't get touched yet. I know what the minister is saying. Bob the Rudal by. Where Rudal have my children by? Minister, Rudal has nothing against the children. Rudal wants to maintain the law in the country. And Rudal wants to see that the law is evenly carried out. I'm going to tell that thing, the joke about it, and the shamelessness about it. That weapon that those children had is called a prohibited weapon. Meaning that if you're police, you could use it. But when you go home, not even a police could get a license to hold a prohibited weapon. And then they go, watch we as big people and say, they was training to protect themselves. How are you going to train a gun that you can't ever use? You see, they think we're stupid? But that stupidness had to come on the August the 10th. Put an end to that. Put an end where the PNM living like kings in this society and the rest of the society on the ground. So my brothers, we need to deal with that. We need to chart a way forward. We are not supporting any crime. We are not supporting any criminality. But what we're saying is, Gary, Commissioner, Mr. Commissioner, apply the law of fair across the board. Up to now, they duck it under the table. Why? Brothers, for the past 5 years, that has been one of the most disgraceful things that has been done in the society, where ministers' children playing with that kind of weapon. But I want to ask you, they say, judge me on what we do. Well, I tell you something, the only thing you have to judge the PNM is lie, lie, lie. That's all they do. From the word they come there, from the time they go on there, that PNM, they master only one art, and that art is the art of lying. They lie so much that they believe the lie. That is true, and you're talking so bold-faced and with such confidence. Those are people who you can't trust, my brothers. We got to get rid of them. Brothers, they keep on saying, UNC corrupt, UNC corrupt. The pelting mud hoping some will stick. But I want to tell you something. There's nothing that is more corrupted than the PNM. And here how they come up, brothers. Every time they have an election, they set up the lie. They have something called a liary or a liar machine. Every time. The first time they come, email gate, and instead of saying what they will do, instead of saying what they have done, they try to frighten you and put you in a state of fear with email gate. And they go on with email gate for election. They lie, and they win the election on lies. They come now, and they come and they say, hey, local government election, Cambridge Analytica, how we harvesting data, and how we nasty, and how we go to jail, and all kind of damn nonsense. All that was to make me back in a corner, to make me cower, feel shame. I say, my brothers and sisters, all those lies have now been exposed, and you must stand up with the chest broad and say, we're going for this fight. You have a lion, and you have a tiger at the back of me. And I say this, not only to all the so-called yellow cheese head, but to every single brother and sister in Trinidad and Tobago. This is your fight, and we want you to go. So they come now, this year now, lie run out. I thought you were going to have a line. The lie go run out. You know Stuart Young or Stuart Young lie. Stuart Young come on next thing now. We in human, UNC people in human trafficking. You know where's that? You want a nasty thing you're doing? That means you're thieving people from our next country. You're thieving children, and you bring them across border to exploit them. That is an international crime. And he's saying today, in this campaign, that we are, UNC, we are in human trafficking. That is the biggest lie I've ever heard. But Stuart Young and Rowley, they have, as I say, they have mastered the art of lying. Them fellas could lie, boy. And like there's sleep in a line, trying to get the same lie. My dear brothers and sisters, reject that idea. It is so foolish and jokey that this time we must deal with them. My brothers and sisters, as I say, all they give you in the last 5 years is lies. Imagine Rowley and Stuart Young say, the woman from Venezuela, what's she name? Rodriguez. She come in Trinidad underhand. When she come in, you know what Stuart Young would tell me? He said, they didn't know who was coming. You have 2 former ministers of government here, and they'll tell you that when any delegation is coming to meet anybody, minister or not, there must be a list of the persons who are coming. And they will lie and tell you they didn't know who was there. Brothers and sisters, further than that, my 2 former colleagues will tell you that when you come, you have to introduce yourself. But they do, because they believe that all you go believe them. They give all kind of nasty lie and believe you go believe it. So my brothers and sisters, I want to tell Rowley and Young lie tonight that all you lie when all you say, all you didn't know was Maduro boys was coming to get gas on the hand. And was the lion of Opuchis who exposed him. So my brothers, my sisters, we have other speakers here tonight. And I want to deal with the issue. Rowley keep on saying, corruption, corruption. As how we going to tell you, how we going to understand? Corruption has no statute bar. Meaning, if you commit corruption now, no, if I slap you, you have 6 months to bring me up. If I bunch your car, you have 4 years. After that, you can't come. Rowley is frightening the people, frightening our people, saying, they have no boundary, no timeline for corruption, and we come in for them. I want to ask him, 5 years you don't catch nobody. No, you catch people, but you're just using it for election again to pelt mud. But mud on your face, Rowley. Mud on your face. Who is Marlene McDonald? Eh? You talking about other people corrupted? Watch your own face. Marlene McDonald and the Caleb Foundation, millions of dollars a thief. The next one, who interfered with some lady or something, so, and they take your taxpayer money and pay she to hush him out. And you know this shameless Rowley way say? You know, I didn't fire him because of the sexual thing, you know. I fired him because he interferes with service regulation. What the PNMs do, they so master corruption that time will come up, they take it, and Rowley and Alwari, they sit down and complot and say, oh, there was nothing wrong in that. We have looked at it and nothing wrong. But UNC, man, they want to paint you on the road. It's time for we to paint them on the road too. Paint them. All the corrupted, PNM is most corrupted, and all the corruption and all the DNA, starting with the gas station racket with O'Halloran. So don't call me corrupted. Don't call me corrupted at all. It's all you who corrupted. So my brothers and sisters, imagine a minister going to carry some 97,000 in bank. If he carries 5,500, they want to ask you where you get it from. What the bank asks you, what she say? Who leak it? Who leak it? Instead of answering the question, where you get the money from? Was the money from corruption? Answer the public. Instead of doing that, who in the bank who breached confidentiality? So this is the PNM you have. This is the wicked PNM you have. Lying. They are congenital liars. These PNM people, and have a way to cover up and put their hand across the mouth as though they just eat ice cream. And they're trying to deal with our people. My brothers and sisters, we say tonight that now that we have told you that you have a duty, and when I say brothers and sisters, I speak to every single brother and sister in Trinidad and Tobago. You have a duty to save yourself from brutality. You have a duty to deal with PNM arrogance. You have a duty to deal with PNM corruption. Imagine when Suraj and Rudal and them were there, they passed the Procurement Act, and 5 years, they may procure, they pass the act, but they're buying boat, buying all kind of thing up and down the place. Why? Why are you afraid to come to the people and explain how you're spending the money? But at the same time, they're cussing me and calling me thief. We know who are the thieves, and we have identified them to you tonight. So my brothers, my sisters, people of Trinidad and Tobago, come Monday, you have an opportunity. But I want to tell you something here tonight, that this election will be a tight election. PNM doing all kind of wickedness. All kind of wickedness they're doing. You know do really in Shagwanasis? They give out houses in Oasis Gardens. But they tell the people long before, we go give you the house. Go EBC and register. So they get the people get the name on the list before they get the house. And just recently, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they get the houses. We got to be vigilant. We got to be vigilant. That means we got to get out every single voter. We got to get out every single voter in every seat. Rudy is safe here. We're sure that this lion will roar on August the 10th. But there are certain seats that we need to go and do some work. If you have a friend, you have family in Shagwanasis, go and meet them, talk to them, tell them about these things, it's your life we're fighting for, and get people in imaginal seats to come out. In Murga Tablan, Gomez Trace, same nonsense they do. So if we slip on election day, and we don't help those marginal constituencies, if you have a daughter married in Burton Trace, go look for she, go look for she family, go look for all the friends, and get them to come out. So, pardon? Yeah, sure. So my brothers and sisters, there we are. There we are, my brothers and sisters. Come Monday night, we will not say, great is the PNM. You know why? Great is the PNM only for a few big fellas, like Al-Bari, who gain $20 million a year for rent. Great is the PNM for he, not for the boys from Laventille. Great is the PNM for Franklin Can, not for the boys from John. Great is the PNM for fellows like this other one, Sinanan, not for the people. So my dear brothers and sisters, all you from South, PNM fixing themselves. 9 out of 10, well, not 9, but a number of ministers' wives in this government have contract. All you know about that? Great is the PNM for them. Not great is the PNM for the boys on the ground. Not great for the PNM in Bakade. Not great for the PNM in Current Hill. Great is the PNM for Alwari. Great is the PNM for Franklin Can. Look what they do. Franklin Can, father-in-law Sulal, the building in Faizabad. You know they rent that for family court. So if you poor and you live in Guayari, you have to take a bus or car to come Yarrow. Then next car to come Princess Town. And next car to come San Fernando. And then you could probably take a car to Faizabad. That is what the poor suffers under the PNM. While he and his family gain big rent. And what I ask the UNC, help the poor people on the 11th and review all them rental contracts in the interest and in the name of the people. So my brothers and sisters, I will see you again on the night of the 10th. And when we meet on the night of the 10th, we shall all rejoice and say, we have taken that yoke from our neck. We have dealt with the corruption people. We have dealt with the liars. And I want to go further, as Harry said, we would have dealt with those thieves, vagabonds, and rogues. So my brothers and sisters, long live the Lion of Oropouche. Long live my brother Suraj Rambachan. Long live our leader Kamla Prasad Bisesa to take us onwards to victory. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Subhash Pandey, politician and attorney at law. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, it is my intention to bring on a particular individual. He's well known, he's very, very well known, lady, an icon in politics. This gentleman is described as one of Trinidad and Tobago's renowned politicians, an academic, a cultural activist. He has held the position of deputy political leader of the UNC. And he has also been a member of parliament for Tabakid, ladies and gentlemen. Among other offices held, he held the office of the mayor of Chaguanas, ambassador to Brazil, minister of works and transport, minister of foreign affairs, and he also served in the Ministry of Industry, Enterprise and Tourism. He also served as a lecturer at UWI, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you none other than the Honorable Dr. Suraj Rambachan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for your very, very kind words of introduction. Good evening, everyone. And I want to thank my esteemed colleague, Dr. Rudal Munilal, for extending this invitation for me to be part of his virtual meeting here tonight. Members of the head table, including Mr. Barry Padara, Mr. Subhash Pandey. A Pandey is a Pandey. Full of enthusiasm, strength, courage, determination, and well-presented arguments here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been a colleague of Dr. Rudal Munilal for quite a long time, but the 10 years that I spent with him in Parliament were years that I learned quite a lot from him, not only in terms of the management of parliamentary affairs, but also in terms of his capacity for political, building a political institution in terms of the United National Congress. And for the team he created, especially when we were in government, when he was the chief man in the parliament and kept us as a team working very hard, only to serve the people and to produce the goods and services that they required. Rudy has been given the name tonight, the Lion of Oropouche. I want to tell Rudy something. You're more than a lion, Rudy. When you roar in Parliament, the PNM, they get very ruffled in their seats. And they're always looking for someone to respond to Rudy. Rudy is always under their skin. Rudy is the kind of person you require in a parliament when you have to face those members of the PNM, especially with those who have caustic mouths, like Hines and others in the parliament. But I want to say something to Rudy tonight. Rudy, you're a young man. You're a man of great courage and determination. You're a person who has a vision for yourself, for this community, but I know, because I've exchanged this many times with you, you have a vision for Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean. And I want to say to you tonight, Rudy, that I hope that I'll be alive the day when you become the leader of the United National Congress and have yourself set up to be the Prime Minister of this country. You deserve a position of leadership. That does not mean that I'm taking anything away from Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Kamla Persad-Bissessar and Basdev Pandey were two of the best prime ministers that ever served this country, because they both had in their hearts compassion for this country. They had love for this country. And more than ever, they simply wanted to see a better quality of life at any cost for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, there are about 3 issues that I want to address tonight. And you will see that there is a lot of brouhaha taking place on the PNM political platforms. You will see that they are into scandals, they're into character assassination, they're into making threats, and so on. But nowhere are they presenting what they plan to do to take this country from point A to point B. From the doldrums into which this country has been cast, from the stagnation into which this country has descended from 2015 to now, to take it back to prosperity. Nothing has come forward from them. Nothing. Only Kamla Persad-Bissessar has been presenting on every platform an economic diversification and transformation plan that is intended to return prosperity to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and especially to the poor people of Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, I want to focus the attention of this country tonight, through Dr. Munilal's invitation, as to what I consider to be the issues on which this election will be fought. And I have put here at the top of my list, will I have a job? Will I have a job after August 10th? I know that the UNC has shown and demonstrated through their economic transformation plan that they have the ability, they have the wherewithal, and they have the implementation skills in order to create 50,000 jobs. I know that the UNC is not going to sit back and let people lose their jobs. Almost 103,000 persons have lost their jobs under the PNM, and the UNC is going to protect jobs. So if you want to have a job after August 10th, then look towards the UNC and don't look towards the PNM, who have been destroying jobs. That's the one issue. Second issue, will I have food on my table to feed myself and my family? If you don't have a job, you cannot get the wherewithal to provide the food on the table. And therefore, Subhash made the point, the looming poverty is not looming. Poverty is real in Trinidad and Tobago. And if you wanted to see the connection between unemployment and poverty, it was over the last 3 months when the UNC people, through their own resources, went on the streets and they harnessed whatever resources they could to provide hampers and foodstuff to the poor and not so poor also, who had reached the position of the working poor in Trinidad and Tobago. I said to you, poverty is real in this country. And only the UNC will be able to take us out and put people back on the road to prosperity. The third question, will I be safe from criminals in my home and on the streets, as well as in my workplace? It is very clear, very, very clear, that the crime rate is not going down. The crime rate is not going down. The number of home invasions that have taken place in this country over the last couple of years, perhaps a lot of them have not been reported in the newspaper. The domestic violence that is taking place, particularly against women in this country. The violence against children that is taking place. You see so many hundreds of thousands of calls being made to the Children's Authority by children. Tells you a story of how unsafe you are in Trinidad and Tobago under the PNM. The fourth question I want to put forward for you to consider in this election is this. How is my country, Trinidad and Tobago, going to repay the debts created by the PNM in light of no new revenue streams and declining energy prices and energy revenues? That is going to be a very, very important issue in this election. How am I going to do that? How am I going to ensure, ladies and gentlemen, ensure that my country can repay these debts that have been created by the PNM? The debt of this country is over $120 billion at the moment. The debt of the country has doubled in the last 5 years. And when you have debts to pay in a country, it's the citizens who have to pay that debt. And they pay that debt by increasing taxes, by denying social services, by taking away from you what they perhaps once gave you in order to pay off those particular debts. So it's not just the government has the debt, it is the citizenry of the country has the debt. And we have sat down in this country for the last 5 years and seen the PNM borrow money helter-skelter, but we cannot see projects in this country that represents the level of borrowing that they took. But when you look back at the UNC, you can see the Couva Children's Hospital. You could have seen the start of the Rima Hospital. You could have seen the start of the Point Fortin Hospital. You could have seen all the health centers in this country refurbished when we gave a new meaning to what URP and CPEP meant. You could have seen 106 schools built by Tim Gopi Singh and the People's Partnership. But what do you have to see? What do you have to see under the PNM for the level of borrowing that they have borrowed? We have not got an explanation yet in this country as to who paid in order to have the ocean flower come to Trinidad. That has just disappeared from the horizon. We have not seen that. Brothers and sisters, the next question I want to ask is this. Will education continue to be free at UE, at COSTAT, and at other public institutions? Or would I have to see a list of textbooks being sent to your child through you at home, and one of the things the child has to buy is a laptop computer? When under the UNC, laptop computers were given to children when they entered Form 1. And when you gave a laptop to a child entering Form 1, you are not just empowering the child, you are empowering a family. I know where children took that laptop home and taught their fathers and mothers how to use the computer. I saw something in my constituency, Rudy, the first time we gave out computers. I went to Sandhill Road, and there was a little, virtually a shack behind another house. And I saw electricity line run from the house to the shack. And when I went into the shack, there was a Form 1 child with his computer. The neighbor was giving him electricity, and around him were his 3 brothers and sisters, and he was showing them how to use the computer. Didn't even have electricity, but the neighbor was helping. That is the power of what the UNC was doing. But now, they send you a booklet and say you have to buy it. So what has happened? The rich child can buy a computer, maybe 3, 4, but the poor child cannot buy a computer. How are we therefore distributing wealth on an equal basis in this country when we do that? Shouldn't all children have the equal right and opportunity to education? What does a child do when the child on that booklet sees that you have to buy paper to photocopy? That you have to buy personal hygiene products? That you have to buy bleach in order for the school to use? Where is the humanity in the PNM? Where are the priorities? If you have to compete in the global economy, if you have to compete globally, because we are no longer a village economy, we are a global economy. If you have to compete globally, you have to compete on an equal footing. You have to empower your people into the technological future. And if you are not doing that, you are going to create a society in which you are going to have a small number of have-nots, a large number of have-nots, and a small number of haves. And the small number of haves are going to be the 1%ers, and the 99% are going to remain poor in this country. That is PNM policy. The UNC said equal opportunity for each and every person in this country. Next question. Would a national health insurance scheme be introduced, or will I have to continue to pay this health surcharge that I pay, but I cannot get proper health service in the system? That I go to the hospital and the doctor deals with me, and then the doctor gives me a prescription and say, you've got to go down by the pharmacy to get it. Or like the case that happened at Mount Hope, where someone went in there and went for surgery, one day surgery, and had put on all the gowns and was prepared for the surgery. And then when he went to do the surgery, they realized they didn't have a particular medicine to give to him, so he had to take off the gown, go down by the pharmacy, buy it, and come back so he could have his surgery. You don't hear those stories. You don't hear those stories from Mr. Diyal Singh. Will I be able to produce decent, low-cost housing for my family? It is no good to say that you have 175,000 people on a waiting list for houses. It's no good to say that if you are not making the opportunities for people to own a house. Look, the biggest investment a man makes in his life is a house. And a house also has, going side by side with the concept of family. And a man's dignity, a man's self-respect has to do with how he could shelter and feed his family. And in this country, where there is unemployment and a lack of the opportunity for people to have a decent, affordable housing, then that is PNM failure. That is PNM violence against the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, this election has to be decided on who can diversify the economy. 5 years they have had to diversify the economy, but they are still depending on oil and gas. Still depending. But look at the economic transformation plan of the UNC, and you will see the several projects. I have often used the statement in Parliament. Trinidad and Tobago has to answer a question. What it is that the world needs that Trinidad and Tobago can produce. That's what we have to do. And the world needs a lot of things, believe you me, that Trinidad and Tobago can indeed produce. Can indeed produce. I give you a little example. We are still importing and spending foreign exchange, little bottles of jam to put on breakfast table in the morning in hotels, 2,500 rooms. Let's say 2,000 rooms. Every day. Multiply that, let's say, by 80%. So you have 1,600 or 1,500. By 300 days, it's 450,000 bottles. And you have all the fruits in this country to set up a small processing industry to produce jams and sell it to the hotels. That's also saving foreign exchange. But they don't have the ability to think like the people in the UNC. The people in the UNC are thinkers. And when you are a thinker, you become a producer. Nothing in this world happens unless you first have the idea. If you have the idea and you keep the idea and you give life to the idea becomes reality. But they are bereft of ideas because they are an unintelligent, incompetent bunch of people in the PNM. My dear friends, so diversification. And in the last 5 years, the PNM has done nothing to create a prosperous, sustainable economy. A government that cannot earn what it needs to spend will put the country in perpetual debt. That is what the PNM has done to us. Not only has the national debt increased, as I told you, but job losses are at its worst under this administration. The PNM has neglected food production, relying on imported food at a cost of $6 billion per year. The country cannot afford this, given the foreign exchange earnings. Look at what has happened to our foreign exchange reserves. We left them with 11 billion US. It's down to about just under 7 billion US now. They have whittled away 4 billion, not knowing how we are going to replace it. That puts us in a certain kind of food security jeopardy in the future. My dear friends, The country cannot afford to keep losing foreign exchange like this. You know, one way to save foreign exchange is to engage in import substitution. But the government has not done anything to give the kinds of incentives to the farming community to engage in producing goods, agricultural products in particular, that will lead to foreign exchange savings. They closed down Petrotrin. I don't need to talk about that. But I can tell you also, not only Petrotrin, but they presided over the closure of 7 plants at Point Lisas. 7 plants at Point Lisas. People going home. The decimation of the economy continues. And in the midst of all of this, a couple of weeks ago, a virtual civil war broke out in Port of Spain. Gangs combining and shooting all over the place, and police in a war with the gangs. That is where Trinidad and Tobago reach under the PNM. And if you like it so, vote PNM. But if you don't like it so, and you want safety, security, and a prosperous future, then you've got to vote the UNC. You've got to vote the UNC. Brothers and sisters, if you care for your country, if you care for yourself, if you care for your family, if you care for your neighbor, you cannot sit as a silent spectator in the midst of this crisis. We have a responsibility not just for today. We have a responsibility for the future. And this election is not only for the year 2020. This election is for the next generation of our future citizens. Election handouts and promises from the PNM is not what you should accept. They will promise you the moon and the stars when they come to office. They promised us the moon and the stars when they came to office in 2015. What have they delivered that has made you, the citizen, more prosperous, and more than that, more hopeful? More hopeful. What, may I ask? I want to say that we are worse off today than we were in 2015. Brothers and sisters, one of the greatest things I've seen in this country, in this election, is what the UNC is doing to ushering a new generation of leaders into the country. They talk about young people so many young people being in the UNC. I want to tell Kamala Prasad-Bisasa, you have done the right thing. Because young people, if you leave them to just be spectators to the political process, they will develop a level of cynicism which will work against the future development of this country. People must become involved. They must participate in decision-making. That is the new kind of leadership. But Rowley cannot provide that leadership. Kamala Prasad-Bisasa can provide it because she has an all-encompassing kind of vision in terms of leadership and decision-making. You know, I used to often criticize her and tell her, you take too long to make decisions. And she used to tell me, I have to hear what everyone says before I decide because I want everyone involved. And that is what Trinidad and Tobago needs. We are in all this because together we have to make decisions that will deal with the economic future and the safety of this country. Brothers and sisters, I want to say tonight, and this is my second point, that the UNC is the most diversified political party in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, Rudy, very subtly, on the platforms of the PNM, there are arguments being put forward to suggest that the UNC is an ethnic-based party, an East Indian party, and not a reflection of the national community. I want to categorically say that that is a baseless, foolish argument, and one that is used openly to deny the fact that the UNC is a national political organization. We are a national political organization. Don't let anybody take that away from you. In every election that has been fought in this country, whether it's the ULF or the UNC or the People's Partnership, the UNC attracts a more diverse set of candidates than the PNM. The UNC works hard, even at times causing the ire and anger of its supporters, works hard to ensure diversity in its set of candidates. Because diversity is the strength of Trinidad and Tobago. And it's reflected in when the UNC is in government. Let me point out something tonight. Do you realize that the votes that divide the parties in the marginal seats are very, very small? 500, like in Barataria, less than 500 in Moruga, Tableland, and what have you. These marginal seats are also the most diverse in terms of their ethnicities. So that if it is that you're saying that the United National Congress is not attracting people from all ethnicities, then how come the United National Congress wins some of those seats, like Dukaran won Tanapuna, right? Like Carolyn won San Fernando West. How it is we are winning those marginal seats if we are not attracting crossover votes? So don't let people make you feel that your UNC is not a national party and is not attracting votes from all the ethnicities in Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, what is happening and why people are gravitating from all the ethnicities to the UNC is because they are motivated not by race, but by the leadership vision and philosophy of the United National Congress. This in itself gives a lie to the narrative that is being pushed that the UNC is not a national party. To win an election in Trinidad and Tobago, you must attract voters of all ethnicities, as well as class and religion. As we look back, for example, to 2010, it will become clearer that the People's Partnership Government, which was mainly the UNC, was very diverse. And in order to ensure the diversity, and I want to show you how the UNC philosophy reaches out, that we don't even only talk about a philosophy, but we practice it. The Prime Minister then, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, appointed several persons of African descent to act as Prime Minister, including Jack Warner, Errol MacLeod, Vanilla Topinalin, Marlene Coudray, and in other positions you had Roger Samuel, Rupert Griffith, God bless his soul, Anil Roberts, Gary Griffith, Gerald Hadid, Winston Gypsy Peters, Therese Cornelis Batiste, Lincoln Douglas, Dikoto, Nicole Dyer, amongst others. Tell me, when have you seen the PNM appoint such a diverse group of people in any of the cabinet, in any of the government? It has never been done. So if you want a safe place and you want a party to build unity in this country, if you want a party to carry this country forward, where diversity as a strength is utilized for the fullest benefit of the community and the country, then the UNC is the party that will carry you forward. You know, I will say something tonight. We were all members of a discussion when we had to appoint a president to replace Mr. Max Richards. Mr. Max Richards. And we sat in a meeting with the then Prime Minister. And you know what was the context and content of our discussion? How do we ensure that, in the appointment of a president of the country, there will be a perception that the leadership positions of this country reflect the diversity in the country? I am telling you that tonight. That is the extent to which sacrifices are made in the UNC to ensure that there is diversity in high offices, that people are represented in the governance of this country from every sector of the country. My dear friends, the unity which Trinidad and Tobago is so desirable of achieving and which is required for us to compete at the global level is not going to be served when phrases like the recalcitrant minority, alligators in a murky lagoon are used, and including Calcutta ship, are used, when statements like these are used and made at the height of a political campaign. It is difficult, if not at all possible, to repair the deep scars caused by such politically loaded statements that come from the lips of the people in the PNM. You never hear that from the UNC. You never hear that from the UNC. And for this elections, the UNC is demonstrating in the upcoming elections its commitment to respecting and integrating the diversity of the people in the selection of candidates. Already at the level of the leadership of the party, you have Jerlene John, David Lee, Khadija Amin as deputy political leaders. As candidates for the upcoming elections, the UNC has chosen Michelle Benjamin, Sean Sobers, David Nakid, Tahika Obika, Aloy Hunt, and Eli Zakur as candidates. Listen to the diversity of candidates. And let me just say one thing here tonight about my good friend Gypsy. For 5 years, I sat next to Gypsy in Parliament. His seat was on one side and Carolyn C. Prasad was on the other side. You can't trust a man or a woman who jumps fence for their self-interest because they are going to come back and they're going to do the wrong things. Winston Gypsy Peters, you tell me, he sang when I was the deputy political leader of the ONR, the sinking ship. Huh? You come back, you get a place in the UNC. You get a place and a ministership in the PP government. And now, because you didn't get the mayoral seat, you're going back to the PNM. Is that integrity? Can you trust people like that? Can you trust a political party that just picks up scraps and put them there as candidates because all they want to do is to consummate power? That is selfishness. That is going to lead to an abuse of power and abuse of people. And people must make Gypsy and others like him pay the price for jumping ship like that. For jumping ship like that. Brothers and sisters, we walk the talk. We walk the talk in terms of diversity in the United National Congress. And my final point tonight, Dr. Munilal. There is a feeling among people that COVID will take the PNM across the line. I say no. I say no. In the last 48 hours, what has happened in this country shows how the PNM has mismanaged the COVID situation in this country. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the daily press briefings. Look at the reality of what is happening on the ground. You know, I asked a question in Parliament. Dr. Munilal will remember this. I asked a question because I wanted the government to say it. I asked of Mr. Stuart John, I want a list. This was a file question here. I want a list of all the naval assets in the country. And he came to the Parliament and he said, that's a national security issue. I cannot give you that. Because I wanted to show all the ships that we had brought into this country when we were in government, and that there were enough ships and enough other kind of equipment to man the borders and avoid the illegal immigrants coming to Trinidad, and like the CMO is saying now, bringing the COVID. But why were the ships not operating? We had heard stories that they left the ships there to languish, that there was no diesel. It all shows you about the mismanagement. And when he came to Parliament, you are telling me that the country must not know what are the naval assets of this country? Why are you hiding that? That was a serious question I asked. A serious, serious question. You know, Mr. Terence Dial Singh, he pressed the PNM panic button recently. I don't know if you realize that. When he admitted that the management of the pandemic is no guarantee that he was going to win his seat. And he used the example of Churchill and said that Churchill won the war but lost the elections. He said, listen to what he said, people want water, people want houses, people want jobs, people want roads, people want lights, people want community centers. You had 5 years to do it. You had 5 years to do it and you didn't do it. But now you're turning sad every day. You think our people foolish? You think this country foolish? The people of this country, the citizens of this country are very intelligent people. You don't educate people and think you're going to come back to fool them. They are very educated. They are thinking. And let me tell you something. You see these virtual meetings, they are being looked at by thousands and thousands of people. And perhaps people are in a non-emotive setting and they're getting a better opportunity to evaluate who is best going to run this country. And it is going to be the United National Congress. Brothers and sisters, what Dial Singh was reflecting upon was his failure and the failure of the PNM to improve the quality of life of citizens after 5 years in office. The upcoming elections is not going to be fought on COVID-19. I gave you 7 questions at the beginning as to where I think the issues are that this election is going to be fought. It is going to be fought on the perception of the electorate as who will manage the affairs of this country in the way that provides life security. Life security. Every human being, every citizen of this country has 4 basic rights. The right to the comfort of sustainable work, the right to shelter, the right to food, the right to education, healthcare, and personal development, the right to live in a society where leaders governed by moral conduct are ethical and where people feel equal, the right to freedom from sorrow and the experience of happiness. I remember Mr. Pandey used to say the only goal of politics is to make people happy, the happiness of the people. These are not just the expectations of people, they are human rights. And I ask you now, how has the PNM performed with respect to these human rights? The reality of high unemployment with low prospects of getting a job in the short to medium term is a reality. I told you the ability to repay debts incurred by the PNM with no new sources of revenue and falling energy prices is a reality. The world is going green, divesting itself from dependence and use of fossil fuels in order to mitigate the effects on climate change. But the PNM is still in the oil and gas basket, while Point Lisas continues to see plants being closed. COVID-19 exposed the poverty that is rampant in this country under the PNM. Rampant. And more than this, the fringes of the economic cliffs upon which the people are living and from which they can fall off any time. Because the reason is that the PNM never had a plan to transform the economy through a sustainable diversification program. Brothers and sisters, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, providing millions of salary support and rents as well as hampers is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. The people need to be fed, but you cannot keep borrowing into perpetuity to provide social support. Sooner rather than later, your reserves will be depleted, and the iron hand of the IMF will be upon us as a nation. Debt created by a government, especially debt to finance recurrent expenses, is a burden on the citizenry, present and future. The workers will have to pay through their higher taxes and the denial of social services. And the topsy-turvy PNM and its leader said that there is not enough land for agriculture in Trinidad. Well, blah, blah. They seem to forget the modern methods of production and processing. They seem to forget that food security in this pandemic is a must. Brothers and sisters, agriculture has to be the basis for transformation, the economic transformation in this country. Every country that has developed industrially has done it on the basis of an agricultural revolution. My dear friends, these are some of the points that I wanted to make tonight. But I want to remind you that when the PNM came to Parliament in 2015, the voracious Tobago MP Shamfa Kujo proclaimed, "We are in charge and you'll have to deal with that." Yes, Shamfa, you have been in charge, but what have you done to provide life security for the people? What have you done to provide security for people in their homes and in their businesses from being robbed and shot dead? Yes, innocent people and business people have been shot dead. The people now declare, we the people are in charge, and we will show you, the PNM, on August 10th, the exit door. My dear friends, vote for Dr. Rudal Munilal. Let him go forward and realize his personal vision. Let that personal vision be translated by him into a series of manageable actions for the benefit of all of Trinidad and Tobago. And let it be done by the most diverse party in Trinidad and Tobago, the true national party, the United National Congress. I thank you very much for having me here this evening. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Can we get another round of applause for Dr. Rambachan, please? My dear brothers and sisters, before I call on the next speaker, I looked at the media today. And this, when one looks at comments being made by high, impartial, independent office holders, ladies and gentlemen, we have to take special cognizance of that. And very quickly, I'll read it. Contacted yesterday, Griffith told Guardian Media that both Diyal Singh and the CMO have been making comments in total contrast to the policies of the government. He went on, ladies and gentlemen, we would take advice from the medical expert, that being the CMO, but the hypocrisy by the Minister of Health. And ladies and gentlemen, I beg of you to take note of what a high independent office holder in this country, who has a mandate to operate independently, who has a mandate to operate impartially. And when comments like that are being made about our present ministers, where do we go from there? Ladies and gentlemen, I leave it for you to consider. When a high office holder is commenting like that, what would the average lay member of society think? Before I bring on the next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, he's in fact a well-known member of this society. He's one of us, to put it in local terms, he's a homeboy. He's resident here. He is commonly known as the WWF champion. He has in fact been the chairman of the PDRC for years. He's the longest serving councillor, I am told. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I'll cut short the introductory part of it and bring no less a gentleman than Mr. Premchand Sukhu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Honorable Dr. Rudal Mundelal, your Member of Parliament for Oropouche East, and I am positive sure, come August 10th, 11th, he will be your next Member of Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And not forgetting young, brilliant, vibrant Barry Padarat, another Member of Parliament for Princess Town. Ladies and gentlemen, briefly, having assumed that position as campaign manager for Dr. Rudal Mundelal in 2010, 2015, and in 2020, I want to tell you here, I worked with actually Mr. Subhash Pandey as an alderman at the Victoria County Council some years ago. I had the honor and privilege of working with him as an alderman. And not forgetting, ladies and gentlemen, I worked with the hardest Minister of Local Government, the Honorable Dr. Suryatan Rambachan. If it's one thing he never made joke with, every month or every fortnight, we used to meet and discuss what are the plans and what are the programs for Penal DB. Teleconference. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight I want to recognize some of the councillors of the Penal DB Regional Corporation that is here tonight. I want to commend you and congratulate you for being here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, briefly I want to tell you that I've contested 7 local government elections, 7. And today I'm appealing to all activists, councillors, polling division managers to attend a meeting, a very important meeting, on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. at the Oropouche East Constituency Office. Very, very, very important. I want to tell you here that in 3725, you have 1,603 voters, inclusive of 3710, 1,413, a total of 2,760 voters or electorates who have to vote at the Mohes Road Hindu School. And I want to tell you, advise you, very, very, very early, I was calling upon you to make this sacrifice one day in 5 years to ensure And I want to tell you that the total electorate in Oropouche is 28,271. And when you calculate 60% of that, bringing you to 16,962. But our target in Oropouche is 17,000. And I am positively sure in the system that we have in place, councillor in charge, manager, polling division manager, and every single road and trace, you have a street captain, you have the necessary manpower resources. And I want to tell you, on election day, don't make joke, make that sacrifice. Make that sacrifice one day in 5 years to ensure that the United National Congress get the highest number of votes, and to ensure that Kamla Prasad Bisesa become the Prime Minister on August 11th. Prime Minister. Now, ladies and gentlemen, briefly, I want to tell you, as a result of Dr. Rambachan, Minister of Local Government, you can recall that bridge by Brooks there. For over 35 years, the residents could not traverse from one point to the next. Could not have at least crossed that bridge. Whoever wanted to cross had to swim over the bridge. And you can recall that Dr. Rudal Munilal Boulevard, from by Sundar Popo and Lal Bihari Trace to Digiti by the Mall Volcano. So, ladies and gentlemen, I stand here tonight to support Dr. Rudal Munilal, the best and the most hardworking member of parliament that ever passed through Oropouche East. Thank you very much, and may God bless us.
Thank you to the WWF champion, and for those of you who are not really sure what it means, we ain't talking wrestling, eh? Wedding, wake, and funeral people. He attends every single thing. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker to come on board is a gentleman described as one of Trinidad and Tobago's renowned politicians. And more recently, he became even more renowned. He has been in the forefront of representing the people of Princestown. He's in fact an academic who brings a mix of youth and experience to the forefront. He holds a Bachelor of Arts from the University of the West Indies. I'm informed, ladies and gentlemen, that he's in the process of pursuing his LLB via the University of London. Welcome to the law fraternity, sir. He holds several other certificates. Very importantly, ladies and gentlemen, he has served as one of the youngest ever advisors to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. He is presently the Member of Parliament for Princestown, and rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, come the 11th of August, he is going to remain there. I now introduce to you no less a person than Mr. Barry Padarat.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. First, let me take the opportunity to thank the lion himself, the ferocious lion from the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Rudal Munilal. For many of you, you may not know this, but when I became an MP in 2015, Dr. Munilal was one of the very few parliamentarians who took the opportunity to provide a guiding, steady hand to me, who was the youngest elected member of parliament in the 11th Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. He was a person that gave me the opportunity as the youngest MP ever to sit on a privileges committee to be able to defend him against Stinkmouth Hines. This evening, joining us, we have a man who laid the foundation and whose shoulders I stand on in Princestown, the former Member of Parliament for Princestown, Mr. Subhas Pandey. But it will be remiss of me if I do not publicly acknowledge someone who gave me the inspiration, but more so gave me the encouragement to stop being in the second line of the battle, but to come to the front. A man who told me, Barry, You have what it takes. And I'm supporting you to go forward. Dr. Suraj Rambachan, the very first person who encouraged me to get involved in active politics. Tonight, sir, I stand on your shoulders, and I remember those conversations in the hallways of the office of the Prime Minister. That today, I know that you have labored together with many others to have the young people come into the party to put them forward as the next generation of leaders for Trinidad and Tobago. Brothers and sisters, I come from a constituency that borders the most marginal constituency of them all, Maruga Tableland. And today I went into Maruga Tableland because one side of the road is Princestown, the other is Maruga Tableland. And all I heard in Maruga Tableland was, "Gypsy, your ship is sinking." So it's time to pack up and go. So the people of Maruga Tableland are ready. They're standing at the front lines of the battle, waiting for August 10th. Brothers and sisters, this election will be determined on three major issues. It will be on jobs and the economy. It will be on education, and it will be government's handling of the crime situation. You know, today the Muslim community celebrates Eid al-Adha. And I saw Rowley Dong by the Jamaat in San Fernando. But I heard Minister Kazim Hussein was the most busiest minister this morning. So I asked a fellow who called me, I said, why Kazim was so busy? They say, boy, the fella looking to see if any supermarket open. I said, supermarket? He said, yeah, they're looking for Red Bull and Monster to keep Rowley awake this year in the Jamaat. I said, what do you mean? They say, well, they remember this year's election, he had to stay awake. That is the level of hypocrisy. Last year when he went there, the disdain and contempt that they have for anything that is foreign and outside. When Suraj told you about the diversity that the UNC offers, today you hear Rowley talking, buffing South people about their handling of COVID. You remember when we had the floods here, the massive floods. It took Rudal, myself, and Mrs. Passad Bissessa to smoke out Rowley from Port of Spain. When he came down in South, and I stood in the parliament and I told him, I said, you come down here with your hands swinging, not a cricks, not a panadol, not a tin of sardine, but that is the contempt and disdain that you have for South people. WPC, Camille Robinson-Regis shouted across, she said, you are a racist. And that was the front page of the papers the next day. When the PNM's back is against the wall, the only cards they have is corruption and race. So they didn't know they had two drunkards sitting down in the Senate, but they want to talk about who drunk in the UNC. They didn't know they had Calcutta ship. They didn't know they had a man talking about who going to India and how much bandwagon she carried to India. But they have only mouth. And some of our own supporters, I often say, they have mouth for the wrong set of people. Because when Rowley came down here during the floods, after we smoked him out, not a cricks, not a tin of sardine, not a panadol that he had to bring. Why? Because you are UNC people. So I say to you this evening, you must find the fire in your belly. You know, when Jerlene John became the deputy political leader of our party, she told me, she said, Mr. Padarat, I like you, you know. I said, why, girl? She said, because when they shout at you, you shout louder. She said, when they jump up, you and all jump up. And she said, when they get on bad, you get on badder. But that is the fire in our belly, because you see in this last week before the election, their desperation knows no bounds. And they have the biggest targets on those who will stand up and who have demonstrated that they will stand up and fight the PNM. When Dr. Munilal, your MP, told Fitzgerald Hines, hush your stink mouth, that became national news. But the people of Trinidad and Tobago never knew why Munilal told him that. Do you know why? In the parliament, Mrs. Passad Bissessa was wearing a skirt. That could be your grandmother. That could be your mother. That could be a sister. That could be your friend. That could be your aunt. That is our political leader. Heinz watching under the desk and talking about Kamla with and without stockings. And that is why I say to you many times, you do not understand what we go through fighting the PNM. But I tell you something. The lion roars in the parliament. You have the pepper mouth and you have Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. And we will continue to fight tooth and nail for you. There's nothing that the PNM will come with that we cannot withstand. We have told you our hands are clean and our backs are strong. And I assure you, as night follows day, we will stand up for the people of the rising sun. This evening, I want to also tell you that this election, especially in our constituencies, is about basic things like roads. You know when Marshall Montano sang, "We need a ministry of road"? I think that might be a recommendation to Mrs. Prasad Bisesa. When Suraj Rambachan was the Minister of Works in this country, there was progress and development, quality roads, quality box trains throughout the length and breadth of this country. And that is why we implore the people out there to vote for the United National Congress. This government is about steppers and zessers. I want you to throw your minds back. Suraj touched on it. When Shamfa Kojo came and she told us, she said, "We are in charge now and you must deal with it." She said, "I am like the Lekoto Jambi. I will be in your face here today and every time I see you." You know, I see it had storm in Tobago and the only thing fall down was the silk cotton tree in Lekoto. I want to tell Shamfa Kojo and the PNM tonight, your cuttass is booked. Whether it's in Tobago, whether it is Trinidad, north, south, east, and west, the people have had enough of you. In 2015, they sing, "Bye, bye, Kamla, bye, bye." Today, they're singing, "Kamla, why you leave and go? Oh, Kamla, why you leave and go?" Brothers and sisters, their campaign is about blame. It is about lime. It is about cocktail. It is about fete. And it is about coquille broom. You know, Suraj again spoke about some of the things that we did. And I want to commend Mrs. Prasad Bisesa because I can remember when I was a child in primary school, seeing Kamla Prasad Bisesa as the Minister of Education under Pandey administration. And together with Mr. Pandey as Prime Minister, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa as Minister of Education, the value that they place on education has us today where we are. When they look down at us and they tell us, "You all come from cowsheds," the cowshed, a stone's throw away from here, Shiva boys and Parvati girls, today produces scholarship winners. Today, Ramai Trace Hindu School remains closed because of the spite and the malice of the People's National Movement. I will tell you this, there's a school in my constituency called the Princess Song Presbyterian No. 1 that the people of Princess Song, Mr. Pandey knows this, holds very dear to their hearts. When I became the MP, we had protests. I took the children to the parliament. We took the PTA. The woodman, Anthony Garcia, he met us and he told us, he said, "I give you the assurance the school will be built." So 2016, no school. 2017, no school. So we went back, I took the PTA again. He sent me a note and I have the note up to today. The note read, "The Prime Minister and Cabinet has determined that this school is not a priority." Why I share this story with you? Because we in the UNC have been challenging the minds of the children. We gave them laptops and that is why the World Economic Forum listed Trinidad and Tobago as the third best place for a girl child to be born when we were in office. We gave them laptops because we understood that we had to channel and challenge them. Today, the only challenge, you know, I see the PNM is doing something called a challenge, which is they put out something on the social media. And when you look at it, Kamla is challenging people, young people, through education. You know what I'm challenging young people to do? Sing Zessa song, sweep coquille broom and wind down low. But understand that is the mentality of their people. And when I mean their people, I mean PNM supporters. I mean nothing by race, you know. I mean historically, that is how they have kept their own supporters in bondage. So the other day I heard Heinz talking about the division in the UNC. Tonight, on Munilal's platform, you see the veteran Mr. Pandey. You see Dr. Rambachan, who has made way for young Anita Haynes. You have seen myself with Dr. Munilal ready to take the UNC forward because we understand that the only way we win is united. Brothers and sisters, I want to tell you here this evening that we must never allow the PNM to divide us. Never. And that is why we give you a unity platform of young people, of diverse people, but people who will represent Trinidad and Tobago. You look at any one of our candidates, any one of them can fit into our ministry. Do you know, in Rowley's administration, when they formed the government in 2015, every permanent secretary that was retired, he brought them back on contract. You know why? Because their MPs did not have the capacity to run ministries. When we went into office, Dr. Munilal will tell you, public servants will tell you, we see government come and we see government go and you can't move us. That is what they tell you. And if it means taking a file from the 3rd floor to the 1st floor, takes them 5 years, they say so be it. We said, you know what, we are not here to fight public servants. But we understood that there was an urgency to deliver roads, to deliver hospitals, to deliver box drains, to deliver laptops to the children. And by the 2nd year, Mrs. Basad Bisessa, she said in every delivery ministry, what we will do is that we will establish a team of persons that will work alongside public servants to ensure that the process is not stymied and that there's a sense of urgency. Today, they depend on the same permanent secretaries who have kept the system clogged for all the years that they're here, expecting a different result. I ask you, you know, I hear Rowley talking about, he said there's no scandals in this government. Tonight, I have a question for Rowley and Oropouche East. You see, $25 million cannot be accounted for in the Ministry of Community Development, Culture and the Arts. 2 days before I was hijacked, my Prado was stolen. And my phone, which I never got back, was taken from me. I stood on a platform. And I spoke about that $25 million and that I had the bills for the $25 million that has gone missing from the Ministry of Community Development. Those bills were stolen from my Prado 2 days later together with my phone. But tonight I have a bombshell that I want to share with you because Dr. Rowley must answer. Tonight I want to ask which one of the PNM candidates in the 2020 general elections brought those documents as sitting UNC MP and exposed the corruption. And in order to keep them silent, they gave them a seat to fight in the 2020 general election. That is government PNM style. And anytime they cannot answer, we will show you the footage. And we will show you and play for you the audio. The PNM for too long, have governed on lies, deception, and the mantra of corruption. But the most corrupt people we have ever seen to govern Trinidad and Tobago comes from the bowels of the People's National Movement. And that is why I tell you, I fought tooth and nail to make sure I came here, whether it meant that I wasn't a candidate, but I had to stick flour and water on posters on a lamppost to get the PNM out. I was prepared to do so. And I say to them tonight that we on this platform stand together in solidarity. We will fight you anytime, any place, and anywhere. You cannot match us whether it is in competence or whether or not it is in capacity. Oh, it is on the pavement. Brothers and sisters, I've shared with you some of the things that we intend to address in the next coming days. Kamla Pasabisas has told you that we will create 50,000 new jobs. Tonight, I'm hearing Rowley somewhere and I repeat, because he's talking one time for the week and then buying out all the stations to play the same speech every night. And he says he's coming with digital economy. He's going to digitalize and create a ministry of digitalization of records and so on. In 2016, 17, 18, 19, we went and we told them, we said, listen, People in this country are suffering for jobs, and it is only going to get worse. And since 2016, we told them how to create the jobs, how to create sustainable jobs for young people. And that is why we tell you that UNC is the only choice. When Rudal was building those hospitals and we demitted the office, we told them in the parliament, we said, listen, do not wait for when you are going to open the hospital in 2020, 21, whenever. Train the people now in robotics. Train young people in something called informatics. Train young people in something called hydroponics. You know where's them thing? Them thing is to digitalize your records. So you didn't have to wait for the hospital to be completed. You could have been training young people in ICTs. So by the time the hospital is completed, the records are already digitalized. People can walk in and get their records at the touch of a button. When we told them use hydroponics, right now in Princestown, they're exporting crops being grown not in soil. When Rowley told you we don't have sufficient land space. Young people, university graduates in Princestown are growing crops in, you know what? Water. And that is the technology that Kamla Prasad Bisesa speaks about in terms of a fourth industrial revolution. You see, on this platform, you will hear ideas. You will hear about the way forward. You will hear about a bright future by giving you specifics in every sector. But you will also hear from the man, the lion himself, who keeps the PNM skating inside and outside of the parliament. So brothers and sisters, tonight I know you are strong. I know that you will continue to stand at the side of the UNC. But come whatever may, in the next coming days, understand that the PNM is always the most dangerous when they are the most wounded. They're smelling the rat. They're smelling the rat that on election night, Kamla Prasad Bisesa will be called upon to form a government. And we stand ready to be able to deliver to you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And that is why the UNC is the only option. Because we can tell you how we're going to create the 50,000 jobs. We are telling you how we are going to diversify the economy. We are telling you how we are empowering the next generation of leaders, standing on the shoulders of people like Suraj Rambajan, Subhash Pandey, and others, who will be the guiding force to take us forward. So the party of the UNC, when the PNM tells you they're the right choice, listen, for 56 years and more, they have governed this country. And look at the condition that they have kept the constituencies who've stayed with them, like Laventille East and Laventille West. They have kept their own supporters in bondage. We will reveal the incompetence of the PNM, but we will relieve those people of the bondage by moving Trinidad and Tobago with a diverse, competent team that has a plan and has a track record of delivery. So thank you. May God continue to bless you. And we look forward to hearing the lion roar right over in his hometown of Urupuch East this evening. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Padarat. Might I beg of you all to give this goodly gentleman another round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached that time of this meeting where we are now about to hear none other, ladies and gentlemen, than our lion, the lion. I now beg to introduce a gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, who holds a BSc degree from the University of the West Indies. And I'm taking time out. I am not going to say, in the interest of time, I would not go into details of his academics, please. He also holds an LLB degree in law. He's an attorney at law, a Master of Arts degree in Labor and Development, a PhD in Development Studies from the Government of the Netherlands Institute of Social Studies, The Hague, ladies and gentlemen. I want Papa Clifford to hear. Where he specialized in industrialization, labor relations, and urban development. His thesis received the first distinction in the history of the PhD program of the Institute of Social Studies, ladies and gentlemen. That is the gentleman we are speaking about. Dr. Munilal has been the MP for Urupuch East. He has held several positions, ladies and gentlemen. I have no choice but in the interest of time to cut short this gentleman's qualifications and offices held. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you none other than Dr. Rudal Munilal, aka the Lion. Can I beg of you, ladies and gentlemen?
Welcome the Lion, the Royal Lion. Sing, Munilala Lion. He's a champion, he's a lion, he's a champion. Royal Lion, he's a champion. Experience full of education, Munilala Lion. He's a champion.
Thank you.
He's a lion.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Comrade Chairman, brothers and sisters of Ramai Trace, surrounding areas, brothers and sisters tuning through several Facebook pages, the Ian Allen Network, Radio Jagriti, TV Jagriti, and I believe some other known frequencies. It is not early anymore, but I noticed not man, woman, or child moving from this venue. All 25, it hasn't been gazetted yet. But I want to begin by paying commendation and saluting our head table. I want to tell you that when you put a platform together with Subhash Pandey, Suraj Ratan Rambachan, and Barry Shiva Padarat, even a lion could get intimidated. When I sat here tonight, we didn't have much speakers. It is only 3, I think, here. But when I heard the power, the intensity, the dynamism of these 3 speakers representing, I believe, 2 generations of our struggle, I felt proud that in Orupuchis, we give you the best you can get. And nobody is leaving at this time. And our listeners and our viewers are not leaving. In fact, they are encouraging others. I understand that we have one of the largest viewerships at this time for any political meeting of the season. So I thank all of you for staying tuned. I also salute many of our colleagues and comrades throughout Trinidad and Tobago, throughout the world, who are listening, friends, relatives, well-wishers. And tonight is a serious night. This is not a night for lime. Dr. Rowley last week, Friday, had a lime. And he sat there and wanted to portray himself as a grandfather liming with grandchildren. The same grandchildren who don't have a job, who don't have a future, who don't have an income, but they have a lime. So this is not a time that we can drop our guard. This is a time that we must be serious. We must keep our focus. But I must begin by telling you that in Orupuchis, rest assured, we have the same UNC candidate. We have the same campaign manager. We have the same returning officer. We have the same opponent, and we will have the same results. That fella running against us is in a battle of his life to save his deposit. And we are trying our best. In fact, on election day, somebody told him, because he's a fellow always around here somewhere, everything we know about him, the only thing we sure about is he doesn't have a long pants. So he's always around. So somebody told him that he ought not to invest too much money in transport, because the more people he transport, is the greater his chances of losing his deposit. So in the political interest of himself, he ought not to spend money on transport. The brothers and sisters, we're not talking about PNM and him tonight, because I have really 2 important matters to raise with you. And they are new issues, and I want to get down quickly into it, because I don't want to go over the same issues that we have been speaking about every night. Or I don't want to touch on some of the very critical issues raised by speakers before me. This government has spent 5 years blaming Kamala, blaming the opposition for everything under the sun. They have spent 5 years doing nothing. We are opposite at this moment, obliquely opposite, a school called the Ramai Trace Hindu School. If you look at it, that the structure, 95% complete. In other places in the Caribbean, with great respect to our Caribbean brothers and our Caribbean sisters, that school could be a university campus. If you see it, the big courtyard, the wonderful classrooms, the spacious environment. Today, if not for some of you who go there and regularly clean the place and so on, Karaili Vine would be running on the school. Duck and chicken could be hatching egg across there. For 5 years, they have punished the children of Ramai Trace and surroundings by never completing a school that was 95% finished. What manner of man are you, Rowley, that you will deny children their education? Their school that required a few dollars more to complete. God bless his soul, the former president of the Mahasabha, Sat Maharaj, asked the government, he said, why don't you give us this school? Hand it over 95% complete and we will complete it. The government said, no, that is the role of the government, not the Mahasabha. Sat would have completed that school. It required few dollars. It required some help. We had mobilized the business community to complete it. But this vindictive, malicious, and wicked PNM government will not open a school even though they don't have to spend a cent from their pocket. Could you imagine that? And they come to you now and say, vote. Vote for them when they would punish the children of Princess Town, of Reform, of Sawa, where it had similar schools almost complete and they would not complete it. Anthony Garcia sent me a note in Parliament. I have kept the note. I have kept the note. I will attach that note to a claim form when we sue him one day. He said to me, he said, rest assured that we, meaning him, will complete the Ramai Trace Hindu School. He sent me a note about 3 years ago. The school is not finished, but he finished. He finished and gone, but the school is unfinished. That is the type of PNMism that we have to get rid of. And when we were there, Kamla Prasad Bisasa built schools in PNM constituencies, built health centers in PNM constituencies, built hospital. We started and we're going to complete the Point Fortin Hospital in a constituency that has never voted for the UNC. We built a hospital there. Ran a highway, Surujratan Rambachan, highway to Point Fortin. We did that for the people of the Southern Peninsula, Southwest Peninsula. Labra and Point Fortin never voted for the UNC. We built a highway to Labra and Point Fortin. In our makeup, as Surud said, we had no malice. We built for everyone. We built for all. Brothers and sisters, along the East-West corridor, everything you see that has been built by Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the United National Congress. Today, we read in the newspaper, there's a newspaper article today in the Newsday, and I want to draw reference to it. It's in the Newsday of today's date. It may be published tomorrow. I understand something is also in the Express. What has happened now, and is breaking news at this time, is that the chambers of Anand Ramlogan, lawyers at Freedom Law Chambers, had filed a Freedom of Information request to the Office of the Prime Minister. And in that request, they asked for how many times has Teot Young and Faris Alwari recused, that means step out of a cabinet meeting, because they were conflicted. Conflicted is a nice big word to say a matter come before cabinet and it involve you, or it may seem to involve you or your interest or your family interest. That's what it means, conflicted. We wanted to find out, because we understand that they're doing business, their family members are doing business and so on, brothers and sisters. We got a letter from the Office of the Prime Minister Cabinet Secretariat dated July 7, 2020. It came to our hands, and you will be shocked to know, brothers and sisters, that Stuart Young, who anytime he talk about decency and integrity and governance and so on, brothers and sisters, on 57 occasions, he had to excuse himself from cabinet because he was conflicted by a decision that cabinet is considering. 57 is more than if that is every week his cabinet, that's a whole year he missed cabinet. Because he's conflicted, because a matter arise in which either himself or a family member or someone related to him has some interest. 57 times I told Suraj Rambachan, unless I am mistaken, I never missed one cabinet meeting on one decision because I was conflicted. Tim Gopi Singh, I think one occasion had to recuse himself. Winston Dukaran, one occasion as well. No UNC cabinet minister could ever miss 57 decisions of a cabinet because you conflicted. But what you will be amazed to know is here how it goes up over the years, that tells a story by itself. According to the information provided, it is in the Newsday. I'm reading from the Newsday. Young recused exited himself 6 times in 2016. That is when they now come into power, 2016. 6 times in 2017. It started to climb. 7 times in 2018. When they realize how the thing going. 20 times in 2019. And so far, 18 times in 2020. Now, that's very interesting. It means that their business of their family or related or other persons that they may be appeared to be in conflict with or conflicted, that just starts increasing. In all, the figures provided alleged conflicts of interest in decisions that amounted to $22.5 billion. They moved from millionaire to billionaire. Could you imagine? I believe that is about half of the national budget. They have been conflicted for half of the national budget. And this is the information released today. The press has it. So what kind of cabinet they run in here? Hold on. Terence Dial Singh will get up and say, hold on, fellas, I can't sit down because that contract coming involve a company that my wife is employed by. So he gone. He leaves Teotiong, Alwari, Franklin Khan. When he come back, Franklin Khan get up. He say, I can't take part in that next decision. You could stay. I gone because that involved my wife. She has a business, renting and so on. Then he come back. So he joins our next one. Then the Attorney General will get up one day and say, listen, I can't sit down here no more because this involves rental. So he get up and go on and leave his colleagues. So between Franklin Khan, Stuart Young, Terry Dial Singh, Faris Alwari, them playing musical chairs. Always in and out because I can't say, so you help me with this, I help you with that, he help she with that, she help he with that, and that is how the cabinet is functioning. Under King Rowley. Brothers and sisters, this is a scandal of the highest order. That $22.5 billion, a minister had to excuse himself. He ought not to have been a minister if he is involved in family business or have business interests of family and so on, come into cabinet with such monotonous frequency. And look how it jumped from 6 times to 18 and 20 times. And the last decision that we have here, cabinet note, I brought it with me as well, brothers and sisters. Look, note for cabinet, July 22nd, 2020, the award of a mandate to NCB Global Finance. The CEO of that company is the brother of Stuart Young. July 22nd, 2020, they are hours away from the meeting office. And watch what they do here. WASA, a loan for WASA, brothers and sisters, to the tune of $192.2 million, financed by NCB Global. July 22nd, 2020, cabinet note. You all understand what's going on? The days before they demit office, they've taken decisions to shell out business to companies that they have family interests, that their family is involved in. This is highly improper. They accuse us of giving out road contract before the 2015 general election. They're paving road in the night. They have a picture on the internet today. They pave around a truck because the truck driver went for lunch. They pave around the truck and pave the road. That is what they're doing on the eve of an election. WASA loan, $192 million, NCB Global. I am not casting up aspersions on NCB Global. But what I can tell you, and which is the fact here, brothers and sisters, you must bear in mind that in 2015, that same NCB Global that they talk about, it will surprise you to know, brothers and sisters, that they grew in between 2015, their profits raised between 2015 to 2020 by over 650% increase in profit, increase in assets as well, brothers and sisters. That is what has been happening. The decisions include that Mr. Stuart Young had to recuse himself for, yes, some of the decisions. I can't read all night this thing. This thing here from the Cabinet, Prime Minister, Cabinet Office. This thing is about 8 or 9 pages. We can't read all thing. Termination appointment of Board of Directors of International Financial Center. Mandate to Republic Bank to arrange a government loan of $2 million. No, $2 billion. Adjustment of a co-lead manager arranger for the issuance of United States $1 billion by bond for the government. Award of a mandate to Answer Merchant Bank for a $90 million 5-year fixed-rate bullet loan on behalf of UDICOT. This thing goes on almost every single financial decision dealing with loans. This man had to recuse himself because he is conflicted. It has some other ones we can't yet understand, and we call upon him to explain why you had to recuse yourself from a decision concerning a loan for a highway, concerning a company called Synergy Entertainment Network Limited. What is Synergy Entertainment Network Limited that you had to recuse yourself from that too? From decisions taken. You recuse yourself from a decision to request for a survey and a survey of a parcel of state land, for example, in Rivulet Road, Couva. You had to recuse yourself for a survey? What interest you have in a survey? You had to recuse yourself from award of our NCB Global Finance to provide $125 million for financing WASA liabilities. You had to recuse yourself from several decisions to give out radio, TV, frequency license, and so on. It goes on and on. You had to recuse yourself from an award of a mandate to FCB to arrange an ATS syndicated loan facility for the amount of $500 million on behalf of UDICOT. This thing is amazing that every single decision of a financial nature like this, a minister of your government is conflicted and have to go. This is in the press today, brothers and sisters. So I wanted to raise that matter to let you know that in the coming days you will hear much more about that. But Stuart Young must explain to this country that why it is on 57 occasions he had to get out of the cabinet room. Why it is. And I repeat, because it's public knowledge, the asset base of global finance moved from 132 million to 600 million from 2015 to 2019. The asset base. I must tell you again with this global finance, they do two things the economists have told us, because these people have to explain these things. You know what they tell us? NCB Global acts as both a provider of a loan and an arranger of a loan. So they are not only providing the loan and earning interest, which is the cost of loan and so on, but they are arranging. So they are the arranger too. So they're getting money for interest, they're getting money for arranging, they're getting money for legal fees, and they're going down the road. Why is it that the government don't borrow from commercial banks that have $1 billion in liquidity, willing to loan the government? Borrow from them. Why are you borrowing from a small player who don't have that kind of billions, but you're allowing them to do the arranging work as well? And in the coming days, the coming hours, you will hear about that. The second issue I want to raise tonight, my brothers and sisters, and they should answer these questions. A prominent citizen called me yesterday morning on the phone. We're talking a bit about something. And you know what he said? He said, when I tune in the night, every single TV station and radio station buy out by the PNM. Where they're getting this money from to buy CNC3, TV6, all the radio frequency gone. If we call tonight a particular radio, they say, no, we can't do this tonight. The PNM buy out. They buy out everything. Where are you getting that money from to do that? Only the UNC they're accused of having financiers. Who are their financiers that's supporting that? The very same contractors that they have in court now, call them cartel and so on, they paving road in this country every night. They paving. The PNM hire the same people, but they accuse us of corruption. When they couldn't finish Ramai Trace Hindu School, the school in Princestown for the children, I want to tell you tonight where the money gone. I have another cabinet note. Now I think people starting to send me cabinet like if Kamala appoint cabinet already. I told them, hold, not yet, it's after the 10th. But still, I just get my cabinet notes and so on. Here this one. This cabinet note is dated July 24th, 2020. That's last week, you know. So it was last week. Look at that, we have it here, man. And it was actually confirmed yesterday. So it's hot off the press, delivered to me. Before it was delivered to anybody else. The matter before us is a very, very serious matter here. I take a drink before I start that. Water. So, National Security 2089, June 24, 2020. Here how this go. Ratification of approval granted by the Honorable Prime Minister for the engagement of English law firms to provide professional services to the TTPS. The matter for consideration of Cabinet is the ratification of the approval granted by the Prime Minister on July 24th. Now, what ratification mean? It means that the Prime Minister went and take a decision by himself without the Cabinet, and now he running back to the Cabinet to say, fellas, all your support that, approve that. Although I take the decision already, I want all your support. Come. And here what it is, the grant of covering approval for the engagement of an English law firm to provide services to the TTPS during the period April 2019 to June 2020. Now, June 2020 gone, huh? So they engage a company in England, engage them for millions of pounds, and they didn't have any approval. It was an illegal act to procure services of a company without proper approval. They had no approval. And these people doing whatever they're doing on the witch hunt without any approval from Cabinet, and you run to Cabinet now to say, only approve that, but this is for last year, it's not for this year. You understand what happened there? So they were acting illegally, and now they come to cover it up with Cabinet, because here there's no reference to any other Cabinet decision. You see, UNC people, myself, Subhash, Suraj, Barry, we have been a wrong government for a long time, so we understand these things. There's no reference to any other Cabinet note, which means Cabinet never deal with that. So they want to pay for something last year. The second part that Rowley approved is the engagement of the law firm for 1 year from July 1, 2020. So he is approving in his last few hours in government millions and millions of pounds and TT dollars for a company to work long after he gone. First question we must ask, Subhash raised the issue. They didn't put any procurement legislation in place. What was the process to procure to hire this firm? Was it a competitive tender? Did they advertise in America and England and say, the TTPS need help? Could we ask you to submit a bid? Tell us all these companies who are doing that. What is the bid? How much would you charge? We don't know that. We don't know that at all. What process we used? This speaks to misbehavior in public office. It is time we investigate the investigators. It continues. The TTPS wanted help and so on, and the TTPS need help with complex matters. From time to time, the commissioner is provided with secret classified information regarding a threat to the state. So we must do this. They say nothing else, you know. They say the TTPS need help. But I want to put it to you that Gary Griffith should be procuring and recruiting a company, not the Cabinet. The Cabinet are politicians. They are passing a decision to spend taxpayers' money, pay a company to prosecute their political opponents. That is wrong. The TTPS must be solely responsible with a budget to procure these services. And I want to say for the record, nothing is wrong if the TTPS police need external help, need technical help. Sometimes matters are indeed complex and you need foreign help. Nothing is wrong. But the TTPS is an independent body. They must independently procure and pay for those services, not the cabinet. Because what happened is these English people who trying to lock up opposition politicians being paid by the government through cabinet decision. So he who pays the piper calls the tune. And what role has the British High Commission played in this matter? Suraj will say more about that. What role? So these people in England telling the politicians, ministers down here, Stuart and others, we're going after UNC, but all you approve we contract now, please pay with the money. Let me come to money now. You know how much money they are approving here to pay backwards? 16.3 million TT dollars plus 50 million TT dollars, $66 million to pay. For a year worker, or whatever they do, work or what. But the money is coming from the TTPS that doesn't have a budget for this. I have the yellow book here. I have the draft estimates of expenditure. And head 64 is the police. And head 64 have no money for this. You know where they're going and take the money from? They're taking the money from the police vote that is there to fix police station, fix police car, pay for goods and services for the police. They're going and take $66 million away from the police to pay these English people who have produced nothing. They searched some people's house. They haven't questioned anybody for less arrest or charge or whatever. This is what we face. And you know what is amazing? 66 million. As one person tell me today when we were discussing this, a lawyer he said, what happened now? That is like in the dark. If you find yourself in the dark, you light a $100 bill because you lose 25 cents. So you light a $100 bill to find 25 cents. That's what they're doing. That is what they're up to. That is what they're up to. This is misbehavior in public office, brothers and sisters. They have no laptop, but $66 million gone for the English people who now telling the police, all you could go and search people's house, forget the DPP. They're telling the police, throw away the Constitution. You could go and search people's house, forget the DPP, because the DPP say, no, we can't do that. All you understand the danger of this Rowley inspired by Maduro government? All you understand why we need to get them out? So brothers and sisters, they came with Cambridge Analytica. Foolishness had the country believing that we were part of some clandestine operation with privacy and so on. Foolishness. They come now with this on the eve of a general election, 66 million. But this note is a fascinating note, and I think we should send it to the press. I think so. What do you think? What do you think? We should send it to the press? Well, press, you have it. Now, this is fascinating. They explain that 16 million going to this UK company and English law firm. So we want 16 million for them. But nowhere in the body of this note tell us what the 50 million is for. They just suddenly say, we are approving 16 million plus 50 million. But nowhere in the note spells out, where were the 50 million for? Who you want it for? Who is collecting this? And we must call for an investigation into the investigators. Who recruited them? Did Stuart Young and Rowley on a visit to England go and meet them and tell them, fellas, this is a picture of Munilal, this is a picture of Roberts, this is a picture of Barry, this is a picture of so-and-so, we want them. Them is the target. And cut a deal? Did they do that? Because there was no procurement process that we know of. And you have the time now, correct the record, tell us what $66 million going to pay and why you taking it from the police service. That is a danger that we face. Brothers and sisters, there's a way to do this. If the police need help, forensic help, the police must recruit that team themselves. They must do it and spend from their budget. Parliament votes for money. Parliament provides budget, not cabinet. So Parliament should have in the book, in this yellow book I showed you, they must have a vote for the police to say external consultancy. X amount of dollars. And the police must independently do that. Recruit those international firms, accounting firms, lawyers, and so on if they need help. Not the cabinet. A cabinet cannot pass money for people who are trying to prosecute their political opponents. That is wrong. It's unethical, it's improper, and it is possibly illegal. And that is why Rowley don't want the UNC to get in power. Because we will have to keep an eye on this. Where these millions? That's why they don't want observers. Again, we call on Rowley, produce the email, produce the letter, produce the chitter paper, produce a napkin even, where the Commonwealth people say, we're not coming here because of the cost. He cannot, and he will not. And that is a serious problem. Keith Rowley, tell us. But they're busy. He want to sell the refinery hours before the election. He want to encumber the Kamla Prasad Bisasa administration, a second administration, into a sale of the refinery. Again, I tell you, take your paws off the refinery. Take your paws off that. Sell your goat pen in Tobago. If you're scratching to sell something, sell that. But leave the refinery alone. It belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So brothers and sisters, these are the two issues really I wanted to raise with you tonight. To alert you. Other speakers spoke about COVID, and I really don't want to repeat that. But don't take no, let me use a decent word. Don't take no old talk. I think that's a better word. That the PNM saved we from COVID. You save yourself from COVID. Kamla Prasad Bisasa made 10,000 masks and give out when the government was telling you tie up a sapi around your head. When they was telling you go and get a bus up piece of clothes and tie it up around your neck. We were giving out hand sanitizers. They never give a drop of hand sanitizer to nobody. Not a mask. Up to now, Suraj Rambashan told me something just now. It's sticking in my head. They said they spent $248 million. $248 million on COVID-19. That works out to somewhere around $200,000 per head of Trinidad and Tobago. Everyone all you get $200,000. You couldn't get $1,500. People in Gulf City are coming to see me, workers every day. They have applied and cannot get their salary relief grant. You know what the government tell them? We can't give you that because you went home on the 17th and the economy closed down on the 19th. You ever hear foolishness like that? Well, then don't pay them for 17 and 18 and pay them from 19th until. They have refused to give the workers salary grant. They have refused to give the people who rent in their help. They have refused to help small business people. People, you know, I don't want to make a next controversy here, famous for that. But in our communities, when people run restaurants and bars and other things, they are family businesses. If you're not working in a store or in the government service, you may have a home where somebody else is working. So a brother, let's say, is not working somewhere, but the sister working, father working, mother working. You know, in small businesses, family business, every member of the family work in that business. They get money, father give mother, mother give children, and they survive off a business. So when they are closed, the whole family suffers. In our constituency, we gave out hamper here in 15 seconds. You could have got hamper in 15 seconds in Oropuchis. And you know what people were telling me? They said, Brother Munilal, we don't want no grocery. We have a garden, we have baigan, we have okra, we have tomatoes, we have that. But could you help us to buy baby stuff? Milk, diaper, wipe, baby food. We did special hampers from Sanka Prasad here of only baby stuff. Stuff for babies because they couldn't plant that in the back. That is what the people were crying for. We satisfy that. I told you the other night, when they sent the Petrotrin workers home, big men, hard-back man, cry. Tears came down their face when they looked to their wife and children and told them, I am going today to return the keys to the house. I have to return the keys to the house, to the bank. They wept. Big men. You would tell me they could go now and vote for the man who sent them home? I want to repeat that line. Mohani, 50,000 jobs will be created by Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC. One of those jobs could be for you and you who listening and viewing outside of this hall. One of those jobs could be for you. But for you to get a job, Keith Rowley must lose his job. For you to get your job, Rowley must lose his. If he keeps his job, you ain't going no job. Give up on that. And more, as Subha say, will go home. So we have to tell Rowley, the last man of the PNM 5-year term to lose his job will be you, Keith Rowley, on the night of August 10th. And then the 50,000 people can look forward to the rising sun, to the warmth of sunshine and care and embrace and compassion of Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC. Then and only then you will get the jobs, the prosperity, the income. That is the purpose of politics. The people in the Beatam laugh until they go Martin. You know why Stuart Young has this vengeance against some of us? Because we can go there. Next week, I will be walking in Port of Spain North and talking in Port of Spain North. They have invited me. Nobody could invite Stuart Young to our Rapuchis. Not even the family. So brothers and sisters, we are welcome there because the people on the corridor in Port of Spain, Diego Martin said that when you were there, the UNC, they got something. They could have lived, they could feed their children. Today they are hungry, they are desperate, and that is why they have this vengeance, this passion, this animosity against the Balize and Rowley. That is why, because you could not even take care of the people who have given you a generation of unconditional support. You cannot take care of them. It is only a UNC. It is only Kamla Prasad Bisesa will take care of the people of Port of Spain, Diego Martin, the East-West Corridor, Point Fortin, Labre, not the PNM, not Rowley. He took the money, never forget. Now is the time to remember. Now is the time he take the money, millions of dollars, and buy painting. $20 million to fix the Prime Minister's house in Tobago. Millions to fix the golf course. While you couldn't get a food card. That same Stuart Young come in the parliament, he said with pride, he said, I never see a food card in my life. So what you helping the people with? What you giving them? Grass? A food card is something we keep, we give to the people who are deserving. They're proud that they didn't give food card. So today, brothers and sisters, I know this is a very late political meeting, but all they don't want to go home. We have to go home. We have an early motorcade tomorrow. I invite all of you. For now is the time, the drive. We move off at Debe Junction from 10, but before, we are having an emancipation celebration in the morning in honor of our African brothers and sisters and their great contribution to this land. So we begin at around 9, emancipation. At 10, we have our motorcade. I ask all of you who are listening, viewing out there, come out Debe Junction, 10 a.m. We have live entertainment. A very nice, beautiful antique car show for you as well. And during the day, we have a lot of entertainment, a lot of attractions as we go along and we go through to the people. We have a little, some paraphernalia and so on we have had donated. We will give as much as we can to as much people as we can along the way. So come out, decorate your car, be proud of your yellow, be proud of your party, be proud of your leader, and come out tomorrow and join us as we crisscross Oropouche East so that on election night, we return Oropouche East quickly. We want that result by 8 o'clock or 7:30. Before we eat dinner, we must have Oropouche East in the bag. We must tell the party they need 20 more. Barry is here, they need 18 more. Brothers and sisters, they need a few seats more, but Oropouche East, Princestown, are in the bag. And we want those seats declared before we have our dinner. Before you have your supper, you must have Oropouche East. So thank you very much for coming out and staying out this very late hour. I assure you, we will wrap up now and thank you all for the rest of Trinidad and Tobago and the world. Keep posted. We will have more meetings like these. We invite you to contact and network because we are dealing virtual now. Network with your friends and family in Trinidad and Tobago to ensure that on election day they come out overwhelmingly and vote for the United National Congress and return Kamla Prasad Bisesa as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, Dr. Munilal. As Dr. Munilal has in fact indicated, it is very late, but very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, to endorse what Dr. Munilal said, I'll just take 2 minutes at a time to read something before I call on the last person to move a vote of thanks, please. The National Security Council consists of the Prime Minister as the chairperson, the Attorney General, the Minister of National Security, and they continue with other ministers. I want to highlight who are the first 3 named persons here. In 2014, when Gary Griffith, as he then was, a question was posed in Parliament, and Gary Griffith responded saying, for clarification, the following is submitted. The role of the NSC is to consider threats to the national security of Trinidad and Tobago and to formulate policy at the strategic level. And hear what he said. The National Security Council does not become involved in investigative matters between law enforcement and the DPP or other such bodies, nor is the NSC privy to the details of such matters. So when Mr. Rowley is seeking funding for investigations being conducted, he better be careful. I now call on Mr. Nicholas Kanai to move a vote of thanks, please.
A pleasant good evening, all. I have a very simple task this evening to extend sincere thanks to our powerful lineup of speakers, Dr. Suraj Ratan Rambachan, Mr. Bari Padarat, Mr. Subhash Pandey, Dr. Rudal Munilal, who is here in his home constituency, all councillors and aldermen attached to the Penal Labour Regional Corporation, a very hardworking and diligent constituency executive of Oropouche East, and special thanks to the concerned citizens organization who has done a lot in preparation for tonight's virtual cottage meeting. And also special thanks to Mr. Suku for allowing us to use his venue. Just to remind you all, the motorcade that we have planned for tomorrow, now is the time to drive. It starts at 10 a.m. We encourage all of you to come out with your vehicles, make it a family event. We'll be driving through the entire constituency. It's going to be an exciting day full of lots of activities and lots of entertainment. And the Emancipation Show will begin at 9 a.m. We have refreshments provided for everybody. Also, thank you to all the radio and the TVs that is here carrying the meeting live. So thank you also very much and have a safe journey to your homes. Thank you.